So let's talk about my revision. So I'm back. I have been putting off making this video for so long. So much has happened. It's crazy. So first elephant in the room, I did dye my hair back black because the last time I would have seen you guys, I was blonde. I actually went blonder and then now I'm just back natural. But I just want to explain where the heck I have been and the reason why I haven't posted. So a lot has happened. Like, we've been to Japan, we went there in March. I actually did vlog a lot of that trip, but it never ended up being posted because I always felt like I needed to explain where I went. Because I think the last one that I uploaded would have been my 8-week out update. So it's the 7th of September today, and I'm actually 8 weeks post-op of my second operation. So I did get a revision 8 weeks ago. Obviously, I still have boobs. I got them redone, and I'll explain pretty much this video. I'm going to explain what happened, why I had to get a revision, and kind of like the outcomes now. Because I'm 8 weeks post-op, I'm not fully ticked off until the end of October, but I'm really happy with the outcome and everything has been pretty smooth sailing. So I'm finally kind of ready to talk about it. I didn't really want to come on here and talk about something when I wasn't even sure what the outcome was going to be. And when I kind of wasn't like emotionally okay. But I think this is really important to share because it's something that I didn't even know was a possibility when I went to get my boobs done the first time, and going through it and not having anyone else in a similar situation was really, really quite hard. So I will be sharing kind of like photos and stuff throughout this video. And I'm just going to run you guys through what happened. So let's talk about my revision. Okay, so I last kicked off at like 8 weeks. And if you watch that 8-week vlog, they're still sitting up super high. I was still uncomfortable. Like, they looked like okay in activewear and clothes, certain clothes. But like, for example, like I wouldn't be able to wear this as like it just sat so like high under my underarm. And I'll try and like give you guys example photos of like how it was sitting. I did take a few bikini photos before I got them redone. So they were just sitting like super far apart and just crazy high. Like there was like maybe just 2 fingers between my collarbone and like where the implant actually started. So it was just sitting so high and they just did not look like boobs at all. So at 3 months, which was in March, and it was like 2 weeks before we're actually going on our holiday to Japan, I had my 3-month out op with my surgeon, and he pretty much sat me down and I was covered so you couldn't really see, and he said, you know, how are you doing? How's everything going? And I was like, look, like I'm fine, like I'm not in any pain anymore. However, something's not right. Like they don't look right. And, you know, he's like, okay, let me see. So I showed him, and then he was like, immediately as he saw it, he was like, yeah, they're not right. Like, you know, you're not crazy. Which is kind of what I felt literally from day one to my 3 months, is I felt like I was insane. When I heard the news, I knew it was a possibility because I knew things still weren't right, but I was pretty shocked and I was pretty devastated. So essentially he was like, you know, we'll go back in, you know, it's just a small day surgery. We'll go back in, essentially like your boobs never dropped. That was my issue. So like there wasn't any capsular contracture. I'm not allergic to my implants. Like there's no issues on that front. They just weren't in the right place because they never dropped down. And you're never going to find the reason for that. Look, I have my own kind of thoughts as to why. I'm super muscular. I think my muscle held it into place. My skin is really like quite like tight. Like I have that Asian skin that just like holds everything kind of in. And I swelled heaps, as you guys saw in my first vlog. So I swelled so much. Everything was just so tight that like I just healed really quickly. And everything just healed into that higher position that they never dropped down. I know that the whole like drop and fluff thing is a bit controversial, as I've like done a lot of research between my first and second surgery, that some people are like, what do you mean drop and fluff? They don't need to drop and fluff. And then some people are like, that's normal. So like, I know that's a bit controversial, but that's essentially what he said. So I was pretty shocked after that, and I was like, okay, yeah, we'll get second surgery, that's fine. There was an excess cost for it. It was a lot down from like what I paid firstly, but there still was a cost for like the hospital and the anaesthetist and things like that. I kind of spiraled from there, I'm gonna be honest. Like I went out of there and, you know, I was crying, and like Matt was like, it's okay, like we'll sort it out, like don't stress about it. And I was like, okay, he's like, you know, we'll get the revision surgery and it'll be fine. And I was like, okay, yep, we'll get revision surgery, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, I'm not going to get it away before we go away. So, you know, we'll just wait until after. And I was still waiting for the quote back at that time as well, because they had to quote me for it. It was really the length of time between like these emails and setting like a surgery date and appointment that I just kind of kept thinking about all the scenarios. I kept like researching about like what had happened. I couldn't find anyone that had similar boobs that looked like mine. Like literally anywhere. I couldn't find anything. I even posted on a forum, and I was really confused because like a bunch of these surgeons on this like form reply. I can't remember the form. I'll put it down. I wouldn't say I recommend it because I didn't really, their answers were a bit funny. So essentially I put it up, I put my stats up, my photos, like before boob job, just after, and then like now. And they were all saying that like, you know, my size is like way too big, and, you know, I need to go down a size to get that result, and I might need a lift and like all of these things. But then I would go on their profiles and they would say the same thing to like other people as well whose boobs look completely different. So I was just super confused. You know, like I was super confused about what to do. I was like, should I get a second opinion? Like, do I trust my surgeon anymore? Like I was literally spiraling. Like I did not know what to do, and I hate making these decisions. So it was just really, really tough for me. Because you do lose faith in your surgeon when it goes wrong the first time. And I was just so confused. I'm like, I don't want to go in for a third surgery. Like that was my worst fear. I was like, I did not have faith that the second surgery was going to work as he'd proposed to do it, that I was so unsure about that one because I didn't want to go in for a third, essentially. So then I started looking at, because I was like, maybe I do need to go down a size. Look, I went a size, so I went 5'35", which is quite large. However, I didn't go a size that he did not recommend, if that made sense. Like, if he'd recommended against me going bigger, or was like, you know, oh, I don't think you should go that big, there might be some, obviously I wouldn't have gone that size. There was never any rebuttal against the size. And like, I liked my size. I think they suit my shape and my figure. But again, like if they told me I have to go down in a size, I'll be fine with that. I'm very much like, you're an expert, I trust you, you know? So I was just very confused after, you know, people have said that like, maybe you need to go down a size. I was like, maybe I do, but that's a different surgery than my surgeon has proposed. So I want a second opinion. And it took a long time for me to make that decision on whether I wanted a second opinion or not, because again, each surgeon has their own biases. So, and also for another surgeon to go in on someone else's surgery is really hard. Like imagine, you know, whatever your job is and someone else tries to pick up your work. Like it's actually quite hard to do because everyone does things in different ways. Not necessarily like bad or good, just different ways. So I didn't like, if you can stay with the same surgeon, that is the most ideal situation for any surgery that you have. So then I was ringing around trying to get a second like just a second opinion consult. For a second opinion consult, it was going to be 5 to 8 months wait. And I was like, I literally started crying when I was reading these people like one at a time. I was just like bursting into tears as I went by. And I was like, I can't wait that long. Like, I don't even want to wait another month. Like, I was like, I hate how I look. Like, I was like, I liked how I looked better before. I'm like, I can't wear what I want to wear. I can only wear like these 2 tops. Do you know what I mean? And I was so self-conscious about my boobs. Like, even though no one could really tell from what I was wearing, because I dressed to cover it. Like, I dressed to cover the sides. Like, I would never wear something like this because literally it would be like coming out at the sides. And so, like, I couldn't wear what I wanted to wear. And then when people would be like, oh, you know, your boobs look good, because they didn't know what was going on, I would literally just, like, die on the inside. And I was just so self-conscious. Like, I didn't want anyone to look at them. I didn't want anyone to see them. Like, I did not like them at all. Like, at that point, I was like, I want this whole process over, you know, because it had been nearly 6 months. And I was like, I was literally going crazy. Like, my mental health was like down the drain. Like, my body image was down the drain. I couldn't train how I wanted to train, which was like a big stress relief for me. And I was so confused about these decisions and who to go with. And I didn't know how to get out of this hole. It was really, really difficult time for me. Jesus. This is why I couldn't film this earlier, because like literally it wasn't, I like wouldn't even be able to like get through it. Anyway, so, and then I was like ringing other surgeons, like even interstate, that I was like, okay, like what are prices we talking about? Because if I go to another surgeon for a revision surgery, your surgery is essentially double your first surgery. So when I was looking at these other surgeons for a revision surgery, we were looking between 17,000 and 30 grand for a revision. Plus, that would have included what I'd originally paid as well to get my boobs done. So if I pay the 30 grand, that'd be $40,000. And like, obviously that's a lot more than I'd expected to pay in the first time. And I just had no idea that revisions cost that much. Like, that's ridiculous. If you were to go with another surgeon, if you go with your same surgeon, they change that price because, again, they know what they're doing. They've been in there before. You know, it's very, very different. It's nearly been a year from when I fully recover to when I started this journey. It would be a year. Like, I have not trained upper body essentially in a year. So that is like a whole year of training that's like done for me. And it's made my job a lot harder. It's made like a lot of things really quite difficult. Anyway, so I couldn't get into any of these surgeons anyway, like for even a consult, because it was like a year wait. And I was like, I'm just not, I can't actually do that. Like, I can't live like this for much longer. Plus, my surgeon was a lot cheaper. I ended up paying around 3 grand extra. So 3 grand compared to like 17 or 30K is very, very different. So I just made the decision, because I couldn't get a second opinion. I made the decision. I'm like, it was a lot of time between my last consult with him and like when I'd been going like in bloody loop-de-loops in my head. So I was like, I'll just have another consult with him. I had all my questions, like from all my research. I was like, do I need to go a smaller size? Like, is that going to be an issue? Like, do you actually, like, what are the outcomes of this? Like, if you bring this down, is there enough room? Like, all of these questions, just to make sure that, like, I was ticking off all the boxes. The moment that I walked in, like, he had, like, a game plan for my surgery. Like, he'd been thinking about my surgery, he had a game plan for it. He answered all my questions really competently. Like, I was really, really happy with that consult. And after that consult, I was like, okay, I feel better about this second surgery. I wasn't 100% sure that was going to work, but I was like, it'll be worth a try, because even if they look a little bit better than what they do now, that's better than nothing for me, because I can't live with them how they are now. Even if it's just for the next, year, at least if it looks a little bit better, I'll be happy. So I kind of set my expectations really, really low. But yeah, my surgeon was very, very lovely with me. I've heard a lot of stuff on forums about girls who need revisions and their surgeon just gaslights them and are like, your boobs are fine, like, you know, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, no, I'm not going back in for a revision on all of this stuff. Because, again, they don't want to go in for a revision either because it's money to them and it's time and it's actually quite hard surgeries. So anyway, after that, I was like, okay, when can we book and get it done? It ended up being more invasive than it was meant to be, but not as invasive as the first. So I ended up booking surgery in, which would have been like 8 weeks ago. And it was just a day surgery. And I was meant to be in there for like 40 minutes. And I ended up being in there for like an hour and a half. He just did what he needed to do in there while I was on the table, which I was super happy with. So essentially all they did is you grow scar tissue around your implant, which essentially is the pocket that it sits in. So I've got the same implants as I always have in. I didn't get a different size. They didn't change them at all. All they did was literally like cut me open from my scar, and he cut open that scar tissue pocket and literally like pulled the implant down into place. And then, so like most of my scar tissue is already like there. That's why the healing time technically shouldn't be as long, but because he also ended up, because my boobs have, they'd pulled away from each other, one more than the other especially. So what he did is he gave me they call it an invisible bra, which is essentially they give you sutures, which are stitches internally on the side, and they like stitch down like into your muscle and everything to essentially push them back together like this. So like my stitches are here, because that's where most of the pain was right on the side. And I was like, why is my side hurt so much? One nipple was lower than the other and like did a crescent lift on the top of one to just make it even as well. So like I have three scars. The crescent lift, not very painful, looks fine. Like honestly, like he did a really, really good job of like suturing it, and he went exactly back into the scars down here. So like all my scars actually look quite good. And yeah, that's what he did. It was definitely more painful than I thought it was going to be because I really felt the scars this time. But honestly, like as soon as I woke up in that bed with the nurse on me, like I looked down and like I was like, they already look so much better. Like from the get-go, and I'll insert a photo of like literally the day I got out, like that night, of what they looked like. I wish I had a photo in this bra beforehand, but of what they look like. And this has like, that bra is the one I'm wearing and it has no support essentially. Like it's the like the straps were super loose, like no support at all. And it looks so much better. They look so much lower and they felt like instantly different. Like all of a sudden, like they were like down here and I could feel like they like felt like boobs, because before they were like here, like no joke, they like felt like they were here, and like they didn't feel like boobs at all. Like even when I was walking, it was like quite like a big adjustment. I was like, I feel like they're swinging around like all of a sudden, and they never felt like that before. And that was like part of why it was so hard mentally, because I had boobs, but I didn't feel like I had boobs. Like they didn't feel like boobs. I can't explain it unless you kind of have gone through a similar journey, but they did not feel like boobs at all. So yeah, like they're way lower now. And they haven't really moved from when I had surgery. I just don't think like they move much. I think you just need to put them into whatever place they are. But like instantly looked better. Like way happier than I thought I was going to be honest, coming out of that surgery. Even Matt was like, they look so good. They look so much better. And then it was like a tough week of recovery. I took a lot of pain meds over that time, so I really felt those scars. I couldn't shower properly for like 2 weeks because you can't actually get that nipple wet at all. So I was literally like half in the shower like this, and like with a towel, and you also can't put waterproofing on it either, just because the moisture and stuff. Never get your incisions wet if they don't have waterproofing on them. And also always make sure that your waterproofing is actually like waterproofed on your skin and there's no like holes or bubbles or anything. And if you don't have waterproofing over it, either buy some or ask for some, or just don't get them wet. Honestly, I think that's what leads, I've seen so many stuff on forums, that's what leads to everyone's like infections of their scars. Like that's how it gets infected. Yeah, so I just didn't get it wet and over that period. It was only 2 weeks anyway. And then yeah, ever since then, like the pain like slowly kind of went off. I went back to work after 1 week off, and it was actually really nice to get out of the house. I was definitely still in pain a little bit on my second week, but like it was definitely tolerable. And yeah, just over the last 8 weeks, everything has been pretty smooth sailing. I went back to literally lifting nothing. Like I'm not allowed to use my arms at all. After I passed the 6 week mark, I started lifting like a little bit more. And then now I feel like I can pretty much do anything within reason. But yeah, I pretty much felt pretty good after like 2 weeks after, to be honest. So that's where I've been. But I really wanted to explain as best as I could my experience with my revision. And I'm super happy now. Like, we're going to Thailand in 4 weeks, and I'm like trying on my bikinis for the first time. And like, you know, I bought some bras the other day and stuff like that, and they look so much better, and I'm so much more comfortable. And like, I'll show you guys a photo of like what they looked like. And these are the same tops. They're just in different colors. And neither of these are like pushed in. They're just sitting where they naturally are. And you can see what they kind of looked like before and after in something that's the same top. And even though like the top one, you wouldn't think that anything's wrong, but like the bottom one, they look way better. And I think one thing I really wanted to kind of touch on was after all my research and looking at everyone, like revisions happen a lot more than people think. Like a lot more than people think, for reasons that aren't like capsular contractura or things like that, just for, you know, many different reasons. But they happen a lot more than you think. And I think when you go into your boob job, you should be really prepared for that. I'm so glad that this journey is over. Like, literally after that surgery is done and my boobs instantly looked better, I felt so much better instantaneously, just because the pressure and the stress and like everything like coming up over that time was so hard and difficult to handle. And it was very, very tough. Even though these surgeries happen all the time and, you know, heaps of people have had them done, I know so many girls that have had those done. Pretty much every single person I know has their boobs done. My mum has her boobs done. Best friend has her boobs done. Like, I literally could reach out to 15, 20 girls that have their boobs done, you know? And none of them had this experience that I did. But it does happen, and I think it happens more than you think. People just don't talk about it. If I knew that this was a possibility and I was kind of prepared for that and could like adjust my expectations and didn't think that like, oh, surgery that happens all the time, it'll be fine, it'll be great, I think I would have handled it probably a lot better. So yes, I am coming back to YouTube because I just like it for fun, honestly. So we've got a lot more trips planned up. I really just want my YouTube to be like day in the lives, travel, fashion, makeup, you know, a little bit of training, all of that stuff, especially now I'm getting back into training. A lot more of my coaching stuff and training and tips and all of that is on my Instagram. My TikTok's more like makeup and fashion, and then like here is just like if you want to get to know me a little bit better. But yeah, I really hope that helps. If if you have any questions, please leave the comments below. I know I was really bad at replying to them last time, but I hope you guys understand why. Like, I just really couldn't mentally handle it. But I just hope this helps one person, honestly. I would have killed for a video like this just to know before I got my boobs done that like this was a possibility. But there's light at the end of the tunnel. If you're going through a similar situation, please reach out. I'm really happy to chat about it and give you guys more details and information. But I didn't want to make this video when I was in not a great place and I couldn't be like, there's light at the end of the tunnel. like there is, you know, an end. But yeah, I might do like a video on like things that I would probably have done differently getting my boobs done the first time, because I feel like a lot of you guys come to me for the boob content. But yeah, it's all worked out now, but I hope that explains where I have been. But I'm super excited to be back, and I'm sorry this is a really long video. I'll try and cut it down, but I'll see you guys very soon in my next vlog.